Sabs, what's good, my friend?
What's good, Jaybe? It's been a minute, but we're back.
Yep, we are back. So good to see. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sabby and JB show. I am one of your hosts, JB. Sabby Sabs, say what's up to the fam.
What's up, fam?
Just let you guys know the Sabby and JB show is every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know we've been away for a little bit, but we've had different things happening going on and whatnot. But we are here and we are ready to go. So good to see all of you here today on RBN. Just to let you guys know as well, if you guys would like to, you guys can go to revolutionaryblackout.substack.com if you guys would like to get email notifications so that you guys are notified every single time we either have a stream or we post clips. As well as, in addition to, and furthermore, if you guys would like to, you guys can also subscribe to our Patreon. Thank you so much to the patrons on Patreon, as well as members. Yes, we also have $3.99 memberships here as well. And if you guys would like to donate to our GoFundMe, we also have that as well. And in addition to, and furthermore, if you guys would like to, we also have our fundraiser for our graphics designer, Erin. She does an amazing job. She actually did our graphics. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $Mutual Aid Forever, and you guys can go and do that so that we can pay our graphics designer. She does an amazing job. So thank you so very much, Erin, for all the work you do. Sabs, let's get into and let's say hello to just a couple people in the chat. We're going to make this very fast because we do have a limited time. Sabby has a hard stop, and I want to make sure that I am loyal to that. So first person we're going to see is Chicago Great One. Says significant new evidence released in the Jonathan Majors case may exonerate him and implicate the cops. We were talking about this. Yeah. So let's keep our eyes peeled. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for this one. This is gonna be good. Ashura, good to see you. Ashura says Flashpoint is sucking hard, not because they didn't pull directly from the comics, just the title and the gender swapping crap. But Ezra Miller is sinking this movie alone. Oops, I meant you 2 times to Ezra. Look, I have my own opinions, but the thing is, I honestly think that Ezra Miller should have been kicked off this project and should have chosen another Flash, because what they did is stupid, idiotic, wrong, illegal, and they should have to, pay the price by not being allowed to be basically on projects like this anymore. What they did is just bad all around. Let me see. Serena coming in saying, greetings, comrades. Creative freedom is so constricted in corporate entertainment that seeing shows like Hell of a Boss or True Indie Games feels like a huge refresh. Ooh. All right. We also have Anthony coming in saying love and waving. Good to see you, Anthony. Gamer for Life is in the chat. Good to see you as well. That's the one thing we also have to talk about games too, because that's another thing that we need to get into. Let me see. George says, "Yay!" We have Casey coming in with the love, peace, and is that light bulb? I was gonna say, I'm hungry. I eat paste. Says, "What's up, comrades?" Mark says, press the like. Yes, by the way, if you guys already like what we're talking about, go ahead and press the like. You guys don't even have to wait. Tiberius says, thank you for the super chat. Tiberius says, I saw The Flash and feel that's a perfect culmination of corporate entertainment overload with no style and substance. More original films, please. Oh, we can't. Ooh, we're going to come out. We're going to get back to that. All right. Now, I'm going to do one more. This one's out of Twitch. Whew, okay. this doesn't have anything to do with the topic.
No.
Yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the topic, but I mean, yeah, the military industrial complex is a huge problem, which we talk about all the time. But yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah. Yeah, that's about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the proxy war. Yeah, we talk about that all the time. This is not the topic for this evening, but thank you on Twitch. So, and one more, Matt Miller, thank you so much. Good to see you as well. Morioki, good to see you. All right. So what are we talking about? So as you guys may have seen in the thumbnail, it is going to be an interesting topic. Why do I have Ray Skywalker, Ray on the front as well as Iron Man and Batman? Well, yeah. First, Sabby, let me pose this question to you. As far as the entertainment landscape and the content that they put out, what is your overall opinion?
It's repetitive. It's repetitive, and I also feel like it's forced sometimes. The quality has decreased over the years, and I think the box office numbers show that too.
Well, you're not wrong. So one of the things that I wanted to do was, and we've talked about this before, but I think this is a great stream, for this, is there was a tweet that was put out by More Perfect Union, and they actually go into depth for this, and we're going to have a little chat about this even more. First off, More Perfect Union, they say, do you ever feel like there's no original movies anymore? No new ideas? Now, anybody who's watching right now, stay with us here, all right? It continues, says, it's not just in your head. Over half the movies coming out of Hollywood now are prequels, sequels, reboots, or remakes. The reason? Corporate greed. It's time to break up Hollywood. All right. Y'all ready? Let's get it on, baby. This is going to be a topic that I've been wanting to talk about. All right. And Sabby, just please let me know because I can't see you, to do it at moments when you want to pause.
You may have noticed something while watching movie trailers for upcoming releases. Every movie seems like it's either based on a book, a sequel, or yet another movie from a cinematic universe that never seems to stop expanding.
We were hoping it would stop on its own.
Well, I'm that you're not just imagining things. One researcher looked at the top 10 grossing films in the US since 1977 and found that since 2010, over 50% of these films were prequels, sequels, spin-offs, remakes, reboots, or cinematic universe expansions.
What?
In 2021, only one movie in the top 10 was an original idea. The movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds.
That's a new one.
And this isn't happening because Hollywood has simply run out of new ideas. It boils down to three major shifts in the entertainment industry. Shifts that meant Hollywood needed to go in on movies with brand recognition. Original great movies, even ones that audiences loved, became a riskier bet. For our purposes today, we'll call these shifts the three horsemen of the great original movie apocalypse. First, there is the horseman of consolidation.
Looks like we too many.
In the 1980s and 90s, antitrust laws that kept TV and communication networks from becoming too big and powerful were either repealed or not enforced. The number of major players in TV and entertainment began to shrink. Movie theater companies also consolidated, which gave rise to the multiplex theater in the 90s. In 1995,
I did not know that though, Sabby. Like, I didn't know that the different movie theater companies, they all just consolidated under just quite a few. I mean, it's not surprising, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. You're muted.
I didn't realize that either, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting.
the top 5 movie chains owned a third of US theaters. By 2016, they owned over 53%. According to researcher Matt Stoller, these giant multiplex theaters jolted the Hollywood power structure. Movies now made most of their ticket sales in the first weeks, so there wasn't time for word of mouth. Brand recognition was the best way to draw audiences quickly. Then in the 2000s came the rise of streaming, and Hollywood became obsessed with gaining market share, taking big bets to grow as large as possible. But don't just take my word for it. Here's media mogul and Discovery board member John Malone.
There's no question that the equity markets right now are so interested in growth above all other criteria. And this is like the bubble in the late 90s through 2000. It's all about growth. This is a land rush.
Of course, the fastest way for a company to grow is to merge with another company.
The deal that everyone from Wall Street to Washington is abuzz about.
If approved, it would be one of the biggest media and technology mergers in history.
There are newer, bigger, more powerful kids on the block.
Over the past 12 years, mergers in the film and TV industry totaled over $400 billion in deal value.
Disney will acquire Fox Entertainment assets for $52.4 billion.
In 2017, just one of those mergers, the Walt Disney Company's acquisition of 21st Century Fox, created one company that controlled around 40% of the domestic box office and employed nearly 30% of TV and film writers. Consolidation in Hollywood has actually led to fewer films. After the Disney 21st Century Fox merger, Disney announced plans to cut Fox's film slate in half and remake a number of Fox films for Disney+. This consolidation makes it so it is harder for creators to break into the industry. There are not as many small to mid-sized films to cut their teeth on, and it gives them less options for places to sell their ideas.
You know, Sabby, let me ask you this. You ever seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes. I love that movie.
Yeah. And the thing is that we all love it, but because of the consolidation, we won't get movies that are freshly new ideas that are made like that. That's what makes me sad.
Well, that also was not a big budget movie. That was it was a lower budget, and sometimes those are the better stories, to be honest.
Yeah. You know, actually, you know what? I really wish that I would have invited Kevin Ronka from Right Brain Studios on for this one. Man, I should have invited. I'm just now thinking about it. I should have invited him on. But yeah. So I think that honestly, this it's a tragedy.
Then there is the horseman of vertical integration. When it comes to original shows and films, a single streaming company like Netflix does what used to be done by multiple companies. For decades, the companies that showed movies to audiences, movie theaters, distributors, were owned by separate companies. This meant that theaters could decline to show a studio's movie if it didn't draw audiences and show another studio's movie instead. But today, one company, like Netflix, HBO, Apple, or Disney, decide what gets made and where it's shown. This gives them more control to decide who profits and who doesn't. And another thing streaming did was fundamentally change the value of content. Netflix only shares viewership data on its content when it wants to. Their business model doesn't require them to. TV networks, for instance, had to establish a market value for their content to know what to charge advertisers, and they had to share those ratings to get that price. Netflix doesn't have ads. And with the industry reforming itself around the streaming model, it's become difficult to determine the value of anything. And it starves out the marketplace where you would go to sell that content.
Just one thing, though. I mean, you know how if you have a lot of competition and you get a lot of feedback from people, you know, capitalists will say, well, that's just a marketplace of ideas, and then it can improve things over time. But once you start to consolidate everything and then you don't have competition, really it's just we'll spoon feed you whatever the hell we want to, and you're going to like it. That's what it feels like. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, I don't know. And I hate to bring up the writers because I know, they're fighting for their own, benefits as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the writing is not as good as it used to be. Like if I'm comparing it to like the box office movies and I'm comparing to some of the movies that I see on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference in the quality. And I don't know if Netflix just has different writers because there are movies on Netflix that I thought were really, really well written,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't necessarily have a big name, starring in the movie. And when I compare the script to these movies that are coming out in the box office, there's no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what happened there? And it's not just Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu. It seems like the quality seems to be better. If we're talking about the movies, it seems like some of the quality seems to be better on the streaming platforms than it does in the box office these days.
Yeah, it's just, I also see some original films on streaming platforms, but I don't see them in the theaters. Like for instance, there was the one with Jamie Foxx called Project Power.
That was
a
really
movie
good.
I was just like, oh, this is interesting. So I watched it. But the thing is that it didn't come out in theaters. It came out on Netflix. Right?
Right. That's just one of the few, though.
Yeah. Very few.
Mm-hmm.
But the writers aren't getting paid as much for different movies as they used to either. That's a whole nother conversation too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And with no metrics and no marketplace, creators and roles across the industry are finding themselves with less control and less profit. At a time where demand for content is high, in our peak TV era, writer pay actually went down 14% over the last 5 years. This leads us to our third horseman, cutting out creatives.
Got to mute so that we don't get a copyright claim.
Yeah.
At first, the rise of streamers like Netflix opened up the market of ideas for creators. It paid them more upfront, it gave them more artistic freedom. But as the Netflix model became the model, even in-demand creators had difficulty negotiating ownership.
This is what you and I were just talking about, and as they get it further into, it's like writers get screwed, creators get screwed now.
Yep.
In 2017, Netflix offered Michaela Cole $1 million for her show I May Destroy You, but Netflix refused to give her any rights. Cole chose to walk away.
You became aware when you had a deal offered to you of a huge amount of money that they were also going to try and take some of the copyright. Was that very hard for you to take that amount of control back and to say no to that amount of money? What?
Before we answer her question, by the way, if you guys saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever, she was in the movie. If you remember. And also, this is maybe shameless of me, but I wish she was a little bit taller, but I would love for her to play Storm.
Yeah, I can see that.
She got the face. She got the face for Storm. I'm just saying. Sabs, we need to make that into a campaign. Make Michaela Cole Storm.
Yeah, she has the cheekbones and everything for it.
Yep. Anyway, let's continue. Let's hear what she says.
Well, the first thing I asked was, why do you want to take all of the copyright? But just because I want transparency. And when the answer is, that's just not the way it is, I'm already out. That doesn't sound like a good answer to me.
No.
It sounds cloudy.
Without any intellectual property or financial stake in their work, creators and independent producers are basically reduced to contract players. So what's the point of creating something great if all the upside goes to a streaming giant? But the film and TV industry doesn't have to work this way. The UK is a great example of what can happen when monopolization of the entertainment industry is kept in check. In 2004, the British government created the Terms of Trade, a formal code that required the country's public broadcasters to commission 25% of their programming from independent producers, and to allow those producers to retain secondary rights to their work. It allowed UK producers to financially benefit from a successful show, and it gave American audiences a long list of programming: X Factor, Dancing with the Stars, Undercover Boss, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The UK is now the second largest TV exporter in the world. In the first 4 years after the requirements went into effect, the income from selling the rights to these shows abroad grew 22% annually. And with these terms of trade, consolidation just wasn't as necessary. In 2017, of the companies that sold content to these broadcasters, 42% were small to mid-sized production companies. It is also easier for new talent to break into the television industry in the UK. From 2008 to 2017, about a third of new content sold annually to these channels were made by new entrants. On this side of the pond, there are major questions over whether the consolidation of Hollywood and the streaming model is sustainable.
TLDR, no.
Yep.
Wall Street investors are eager to see profitability after years of investment and growth. And writers, actors, and directors are fighting for terms within this new landscape that allow them the ability and the incentive to make great art. They are also fighting to make original ideas possible and profitable again. And the outcome of this fight could decide whether the next great original movie ever gets made at all.
So really, it is just about corporate greed. This is why you're exhausted. This is why, and Sabby, let me tell you this. I used to scoff at the idea of being exhausted from, say, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was like, it's so entertaining. To me, I'm like, why are people saying they're tired? I'm not tired. Until
I think it's gotten to be a bit much, and I think it's and I love Marvel. I've loved Marvel since I was a kid. I used to have the comic books. I had the little Marvel cards. We used to trade those in school and all that kind of stuff. But I think what's happening is there is such a thing as too much of a good thing, and it's hard sometimes for me to even keep up because it's like the movie is coming out and then now you got to watch this show on Disney Plus before you see the new Marvel movie so you understand what's happening in sequence. So now you have the Marvel shows on Disney Plus. So it's like you had to get another streaming platform, sign up for another one to watch the Marvel shows so you understand what's happening. So like, for example, the very first one, WandaVision. Okay. It's like you really kind of needed to see that before you saw that last Doctor Strange movie. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so now it's like you have to watch the shows in order to follow the movies in that order. And then there were these switcheroos that to me just did not make any damn sense. There were Marvel shows on Netflix. Luke Cage was one of them, right? Jessica Jones was one, and loved Luke Cage. When Disney bought Marvel, those shows ended. And to me, it didn't make any sense because Luke Cage had just finished that second season, and I thought Luke Cage was phenomenal. Then they announced that Disney bought Marvel and the shows are going to be on Disney Plus. But those shows like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, like the ones that were already on Netflix.
Iron Fist.
They didn't continue those on Disney Plus. So it was kind of weird. And then instead they started with WandaVision, Loki, Falcon Winter Soldier. And like, those are good shows. The Hawkeye show, they're all good. But it has gotten to the point now where is it just too much to keep up with at this point in time? And you and I talked about this earlier about Endgame, right? Endgame was phenomenal.
It was.
And I'm gonna keep it real. After I saw Endgame, I said it's gonna be very difficult to beat that.
Look.
So is it quantity above quality? Because I would rather have less movies with better quality than Disney just shooting out all these movies multiple times throughout the year and starting new shows multiple times throughout the year, and I got to keep up with all of it, and the quality's not that great.
Look, I'm gonna tell you what my boyfriend said. He said, first the thing he said was most of everything after Endgame had just been a lot of fine, because Marvel has just been throwing stuff out to keep us busy while it figures out the narrative direction, and it's exhausting. He said, yeah, that and the fact that the 2-part Avengers movie climax of all this seems like 3 years away when people are already feeling pretty over the cinematic universe format now. He says Secret War, the next Avengers movie, Secret Wars, is literally about 2 universes colliding into each other and everyone fighting it out on whatever is left. I can see the potential, but still, will anyone really care by then? Especially if the MCU inevitably keeps going afterwards. So my question was, like, how can you top Endgame? Because this is literally a universal thing. But Secret Wars is now multiversal. But I'm like, after Secret Wars, what's the biggest thing? How can you go after multiversal? You can't do bigger than that. Like, the only thing you can do is have the one above all fighting the Living Tribunal. But
I think it's just, and you know what? It's not just Marvel. It's these other sequels too. Like, do we really need another Fast and the Furious movie?
No, we don't.
Like, it just
don't need one.
I feel like they're running out of ideas. Right? Do we need all these reboots over and over again? I love Rocky, but did we need that many Rocky movies? The later Rocky movies are not good. They don't compare to the first and the second one. They don't compare to the first 3. So why do they just keep like rebooting all this stuff? And I'm like, do you really need that? Like, then they came back and they made another Independence Day. It was awful.
It was
Did
awful.
you need another Independence Day?
Mm-mm.
So it's just like, we have to ask, like, we can go to DC. DC, we can play that game with you too. Okay. Because DC, your shows are good, but your movies, no. Do you need another Batman series?
And then let's not get started on Star Wars. Okay, my geek side is about to come out. Look, everybody loves the original trilogy, right? The original trilogy, time honored, right? And it was directed by, other people, but it was, consulted and heavily influenced by George Lucas because he was the writer, and, he just hired directors for the original trilogy. Then we come to the prequels, which is what I love, which is nostalgic for me as a kid, right? Because when I first saw, what's it called? The Phantom Menace. I was, I think, 13 or 14, right? And my favorite is Revenge of the Sith overall. But the thing is that those were directed by George Lucas, right? Then we get to the sequel trilogy. These are the ones of The Force Awakens, you see The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. Those 3 movies were all after Disney bought Lucasfilms.
Yeah, and you can see the difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, The Force Awakens was just Star Wars: A New Hope modern day. It was just a New Hope remake. And then The Rise of Skywalker was just a remake of Return of the Jedi. That's it. That's
Don't forget the Han Solo movie, which did not do well.
Oh God, Lord.
There was that too. Now I will say Rogue One, I did like Rogue One. Rogue One was kind of its
Rogue
own
One was
thing.
good.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's
Rogue One was
like,
good.
you know, how far do you go? I don't know. Like I don't want Hollywood just to make movies. Especially like the box office shows you that these movies are not performing the way that they would have like years ago, right? So I think it's just, I don't know, man. Like for me, and I'm very picky about what I'm going to spend my money on. And if I go to the movies, I'm not going to go to the movies to see something that I think may be okay.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's not
you know,
cheap.
there's a lot of Black people that actually have something to say about the new Little Mermaid. Now, they're not mad that Little Mermaid is Black. They're mad that they're not taking original stories and folk tales from Africa and adapting it to a Disney movie.
Well, it is just the Little Mermaid. Like it really is just the Little Mermaid, the live action version.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it because I've heard so much about this movie to the point where I'm just like, look, it's a mermaid. Get over it, people. It's a mermaid. But I think that, like, you know, there's no way that everyone is going to be satisfied. You're always going to have those issues, right? But it's not even just Star Wars and Marvel. It's also things like the Flash movie. Like, and we can talk about, you know, Ezra's issues, which I think he should have been pulled from that, but that's just me.
Definitely.
But to me, it was like you already had an actor playing the Flash on TV for 9 seasons.
9 seasons?
9 seasons. 9. The Flash is on season 9. Instead of going to the person who is already the Flash, which is Grant Gustin, why didn't you get him to play the Flash in the Flash movie? No, they went and got a whole different character, a whole different dude to get him to play, who also definitely had some serious issues, abducting women, like this kind of shit. That's the guy that they chose to play the Flash. To me, that made no sense. You already had a Flash.
Yep.
It's like making a Green Arrow movie and asking someone else at the time when Arrow was still alive. It's like making a Green Arrow movie and asking someone else to play Oliver Queen besides, you know, Stephen Amell, who was already playing Oliver Queen. It just don't make no sense to me.
They just, yeah, that's another thing I think that, you know, people really don't take into account. But one of the things I wanted to show is this chart that a lot of people may not be aware of. And this is a chart that, you know, a few people have probably seen, but I think this is imperative that we show this as well. So this is I might have to shrink this just a little bit, but this is the chart showing the consolidation of all these media conglomerates, right? In the bright blue, you have Disney, Comcast, AT&T, and others. Now, this is back in 2018, but if you look, it's like they're all basically owned. Like Comcast owns Universal, DreamWorks, Focus. I think it's CNBC, Sci-Fi, USA, and then Disney owns Fox, Lucasfilm, Touchstone, Pixar, ABC, Marvel, 20th Century Fox, you know, Fox Searchlight. You know, you have all these different ones that are really owned by just a very small few. And, you know, with that being said, this is why there is no type of there's no type of new creativity, because it is a risk. think about all your biggest franchises that you ever loved, right? Harry Potter was a risk. Let's forget the creator of Harry Potter. The franchise itself was a risk, right? Star Wars was a risk. Lord of the Rings was a risk. Look, remember, Iron Man was a risk. The start of the MCU, that was a risk that Paramount took. And now look. But the thing is that with capitalism and with consolidation, like the lady said, too many risks happen and they don't want to touch it, even though it may turn out to be a blockbuster.
Yep.
And
it's all about making money for them. That's the thing. Like, they just want to make money. I don't even think some of these like producers actually care if the script is good, if the quality is there. I feel like they've lowered the bar. And they feel like that all they have to do is just create a lot of action scenes and explosives and things like that to get you, wowed or whatever. And then that's all you need, and it'll be fine. It's like the guy Michael Bay. Michael Bay, kind of known for the movies with the explosions and stuff. It's like, I think they feel like if they have that, then they don't necessarily really need to have a good script. And this is why, like, more people are choosing to watch these movies that are made by Netflix or made by Amazon Prime, because they're putting more quality into it, or they're making movies that make you think. You know how many movies I've watched on Netflix that are Netflix only movies? At the end of the movie, I actually had to think and say, maybe it could be this or maybe it could be that. When's the last time you saw like a movie at the movie theater that was like that? And that's a big part of the problem. Like, I like to be challenged when I watch something. I don't want it to be obvious for me to figure out exactly what's going to happen with the plot. That's boring. And I feel like that's kind of where, like, at least when it comes to the major movie theaters, I feel like that's kind of where they have gone. If you guys haven't had a chance, I started watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix. And one of the things that he said in reference to his career as an actor is he said eventually he got to the point where there was nothing else for him to do. He said, what was I going to do? Keep playing the same role over and over again? I had already done all these action roles. I'd already done this and done that. I topped the box office multiple times. He said, yeah, I could have just continued doing that. He was like, but it becomes repetitive. So he moved on to something else. And I think that's a smart move. But it's just like, don't just do something. Hollywood find one thing that works and they just continue doing it because it works instead of challenging themselves.
Yeah, it's just like, and I said this earlier, it's like, okay, you want to make your kid happy. Okay, here's some ice cream. Yay! But you want to keep making them happy. So day after day after day, you give them ice cream, 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 ice cream. And next thing you know, you ask them a month later, they're like, you want some ice cream? They're like,
yeah.
Nah. And that's the thing. That's what capitalism does. It's like, oh, this works. All right, press the button. Over, because we need that money. Over. And then next thing you know, it's like, yeah, that ain't stimulating me no more, babe.
We saw this happen with music too, JB. When we were growing up with artists like MC Hammer, he realized, okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did for the first album, for the second album. And it just, after a while, like, people are like, no, we want something different. And I honestly believe this is why someone like Madonna was always able to succeed. She was always a step ahead of what was currently popular. So every Madonna album was different. Like, one album, she may have like a virgin like image with the long necklace and the net, arm lace stuff, like whatever that stuff was that she was wearing. Then the next album, she switches to something completely different. That's how people like her were able to have like a long career. Same thing with someone like Michael Jackson. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over, eventually people will get bored and they'll check out. You got to give people something different. And I do feel like that, like even like I said, like I love going to the movies, but I used to do it more often. And now I don't, because I'm just like, number one, it's more expensive now. So if I'm going to spend my money at the movie theater, the movie better be good, damn it.
Yeah.
It better be good.
Yo. Zabs, let me ask you, did you know that this was all predicted 20 years ago?
I did not.
Let me show you. All right, let's go here. So this was 20 years ago. This says, Koplovitz, consolidation kills creativity. This was written in September 15, 2003. It says, USA Network founder Kay Koplovitz suggested Monday that media consolidation may end up stifling creativity in the television industry. Quote, consolidation in and of itself isn't necessarily bad, end quote. Koplovitz, now a principal of Koplovitz and Company, said during a luncheon panel here conducted by the Radio and Television Research Council. But they said, but from a creative point of view, I get concerned. Koplovitz said that the real danger is that it will be harder for the bright idea to surface with consolidated companies that have a lot of other balancing factors that they're trying to weigh, like paying greater attention to the bottom line or trying to create more efficiencies in the merged entity. Quote, you really need to have new ideas on the plate, end quote. Koplovitz added that it also becomes harder for fresh producers and other talent to get access to the consolidated media companies. It is tough to get brand new people on the playing field. USA is one of the cable assets Vivendi Universal is selling to General Electric companies, NBC's, in a deal that represents the most recent example of merger mania in the media. The RTRC panel called Now Let Me Tell You What I Really Think consisted of executives who had left corporate jobs like Koplovitz, Barry Cook, Chief Executive Officer at Nielsen Research Media, David Bender, former president of Media Mark Incorporate. A fourth panelist, Bruce Goldrich, president of Insights, Accountability, and Eyeballs Incorporated, managed the media consolidation that had hurt consumers. He argued that when networks like ABC keep distribution and production in-house, it results in TV shows that don't really appeal to viewers. So media mergers may help the bottom line, but end up weakening your products. As a result, backlash of disaggregation may start.
Yeah, this is a very good, I mean, they made this prediction. I think they're correct. You know, it's not always about what's well, it is for them about profit, but in my mind, it's not always about what's profitable. It's about like, is the quality there? Like, and that's something that I do look towards. Like, don't just make a sequel for the sake of making a sequel. You know, like don't just be like, well, the first one did well, so let's make a second one, and then the script is not good. You know. And this is another example from Gamer. Cobra Kai is a really good show on Netflix. And I'll tell you something about Cobra Kai for those who don't know. That show was presented to every major channel, every major network in broadcast television. They all turned it down. So it became like they did like a little web series. And then Netflix was like, you know what, we'll pick it up. They tried Netflix. And that show was freaking amazing. And it does very well on Netflix, obviously. But again, that goes back to taking risk. And I think that's another example where I don't think ABC, even the CW, like none of those networks wanted to take that risk with the show like Cobra Kai. And I think that was a missed opportunity.
Yep. And if, you know, these media companies were more worker owned, I'm just saying, what he says, it originated on YouTube when YouTube was making originals. Oh.
Yep. Yeah. Because see, all the networks turned it down. They didn't think that it would do well. But they believed like another 90210 would do well. Like, we don't need another 90210. We don't need another Dallas. We don't need another Dynasty. These shows have already existed and they did really well back then. You can always just show reruns of that. But but stop recreating these shows that were really good in the 80s and the 90s, because when they redo it, it's just not done as well. It's not as good.
Yeah. And the artistic expression, because that's what it really is. We're talking about art. It's not truly being expressed, because when capital gets in the way and gets into the system, it stifles that creativity. So then we're just being fed the same slop every single time. Casey says reality TV killed writing as well. I'm going to tell you something about that, because that was actually part of the final paragraph actually in this article. It says, during the panel, Koplovitz also says she was surprised at the longevity of popular that reality TV programming was enjoying. She said the program essentially has become like sporting events for younger viewers. So what happened back then was, during the last writer's strike early in the 2000s, instead of actually just paying the writers and allowing them to be able to write again for original scripted content, they went the reality TV route. And so this is when reality TV had a boom, because it didn't require writers, or it required very little writing. So that's why we got the reality TV boom back then. And then we started to see all these Real Housewives. Donald Trump, became more a household name, all these different things. Because guess what? If it weren't for that, then we wouldn't have had a President Trump, probably, because everybody would have been like, Donald who?
That's a good point. That is a good point. Because the thing is like, the first reality TV show I remember watching was The Real World, and it was on MTV. And I think they kind of like, showed how, or at least the first season, they showed how raw and gritty it could be, of just showing 7 people living in a house that don't know each other and are very different. Now, later on, The Real World, they started to make it a little bougie. Like, I'm just going to keep it real, where all the people in the house were college students or college graduates. Like, they started to make it more homogenous, which I did not like. I liked it when it was more gritty. I liked the first season, which was New York, where you had Eric, someone who was a dancer. You had someone who was a rapper. You had a writer. You had, one person, I think, in that house was like a college student. I liked the second season was, I think, San Francisco, or no, Los Angeles was the second season, right? All those people were different. Again, everybody in the house wasn't like a college student or college degree. And the third season, which was probably one of the most powerful ones, which featured Pedro. And for some people in this country, that was their first introduction to the HIV, AIDS, like community and an issue that we had in this country, seeing that through the eyes of someone who was living it, which Pedro was living that, right? So that dealt with some real serious stuff. And then somewhere along the way, they decided, let's only put people on this show that are college educated, that are very attractive, and let's just run with that. And that's when The Real World changed. I thought it was better when it was more gritty and it was more raw, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, reality TV did change a lot of things. But some of those shows that are reality were still somewhat scripted, like the show Laguna Beach and the show The Hill. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but even the actors admitted later on, the whatever I'm called, the actors admitted later on that even The Hill was scripted. And think about this, guys. If you're having lunch with your friend, how is it you guys are sitting and having lunch and nobody like misspeaks? No one like interrupts each other. There's no one comes by and waves or anything like that. Like, every conversation is perfect. Come on now.
Yeah. And technically, I would say one of the first reality TV shows was actually Cops.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Cops, because everybody watched it. We all sing the theme song, but yeah.
When they come for you.
Yeah. And let me just check to see if there's any tips on Rockfin. Thank you so much. Caroline says, 2 of my favorite people. Good to see it, Dave Burt. He says, kill your television was the phrase before. All right. Thank you so very much. And I don't have Rumble up, but I doubt there's any comments on Rumble right now. But just to go to some of the chat here, thanks to Aberdeen for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Serena says, with how much imperialist propaganda is in Marvel movies, that seems intentional.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Casey said, I thought they were announcing Star Wars meets Marvel like the Flintstones meets the Jetsons.
Oh boy.
They're a modern Stone family. All right. Let me see. Roger says, Sabby, Endgame was okay. Wasn't that great. But you have to understand, I was a collector, so I'm a hardliner.
Yeah, Roger's a comic book purist, Jaybe.
Yeah, I'm finding that out. We see Tiberius Monk says, X-Men and Fantastic Four should have been the next saga, not multiverse, except for Across the Spider-Verse. I'm done with the multiverses. Boy.
Tiberius said he is done.
He's done. I am done. Finished. Finito. All right. Gamer says Cobra Kai is a really good show on Netflix. Yep.
Did we get this one from Tiberius too?
Oh no.
On my end, JB, I have it selected auto star super chats. You can do that now.
I had that too, but I don't know. I thought I had wait, did I read that already? I'm sorry.
I saw the Flash and feel that's a perfect culmination of corporate entertainment overload with no style and no substance. More original films, please.
Yeah, I think I read that. But anyways, but yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing is that there is no original because they don't want to invest in originals.
That takes time.
Yeah, it takes time.
And energy.
Yeah. And yes, Jamie, I agree. Infinity War is actually better than Endgame. That's just my preference.
Well, for me, it's the fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
Ninjas!
That's the payoff.
Assemble!
Yep. You know, because I'm not gonna lie, I got a little teary eye when I saw everybody coming through the portal. I'm like,
yeah, baby, it feels a part of way.
Yes,
I was like, yes, here they come.
Yeah. Yo, I like the tears started flowing when I saw Spider-Man. When I saw Peter come down, I was just like, yes. You know,
for me, it was when I heard, "Hey Cap, I'm on your left."
Yeah.
Oh
we were like, yeah. But the thing is that that's because it all started off with a risk, right? Jon Favreau took a risk and he went on Robert Downey Jr., who was basically not, he was kind of like looked down upon in Hollywood because he had drug problems, he went to prison, all that.
Yep.
So he took a risk on a guy that really was kind of down on his luck. And so now look. So yeah. But you gotta have to get going because you have a hard stop and I want to make sure I honor that. But what you got going on tonight on your show, Sabby?
Yeah, guys, Jimmy Dore is going to join me at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So in about an hour. So come join. We have a lot to talk about, particularly ever since, Cornel West announced that he's running Green Party. I'm curious to hear like Jimmy's opinion about that. So come join us over there. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about Hunter Biden pleading guilty. We're going to go into that too in this issue with BlackRock.
Oh Lord, that's gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for me, of course, on my channel, I'll be getting into Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. Be getting into that next week. On Tuesday, I'll have Willie Bragg on from the Willie Bragg Show on my channel. So I'll be having him on. And also next Thursday is my birthday. So I probably will be doing a special stream on my channel. So I'll be, next Thursday is my birthday. So just letting you guys know. But yeah, so say goodbye, Sabs. We got to get going. Oh, hang on. Frank Johnson says Infinity War was better, but how do you any storyline with Thanos that doesn't involve Adam Warlock, Yin Yang?
Oh,
I was saying that. But they didn't. Yeah.
Frank said the quiet part out loud.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, Marvel's turning into Warner Brothers. It's true. I hate to admit it, but it is. Yeah. But look, everybody, got to get going. Look, water your plants, swallow yourself, lead the work. Wait, Jimmy's taking 2 weeks off starting next week.
Oh, I guess I caught him right in time.
Yep, you caught him at the right time. And you're catching us at the right time because we got to get going. It is 6:59. We got to go. Look, water your plants, water yourselves, lead the world better than you found it. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Also, if you guys would like to, you guys can also contribute to our fundraiser for Aaron that we do for our graphics designer. You guys can go Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever. Also, if you guys have not, you guys can subscribe to our Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. Thanks to all the patrons on Patreon, as well as all the members and the memberships. And thank you so much to all the people who also contribute to our GoFundMe. Thank you so very much. Sabby, be there or be square in 1 hour. Bye, everybody. Love you. All right. Rock on.